raining while the sun was out. And that
precious.
That's the Notebook.
Because I'm not dropping it low and spreading it wide for coffee.
Right.
So, our grandparents. But are we going to put more with that mark in that prayer? What action are we going to put in place?
I like chilies though, but listen,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ladies POV. We are a panel of women where we get together and we discuss some like trending topics, as well as other areas and topics of interest. And we also, encourage your feedback and your comments. And we want you to get involved as well. I am Devin, and tonight I am joined by Rue and Lucretia, who's coming in. She's having some technical problems, but
yeah, panel of women, and then it was just two.
and Courtney is usually with us, but she's a little busy tonight, so she won't join. But it'll be the three of us. Lucretia's getting in. Hey, Shantae. So, Rue, how are you so far, and how are you now that we've exited the year of terror and we're entering I'm going to call it, speak it into existence, this year of clarity and prosperity and all of that? How was your new year? Man,
my new year was great. I'm peachy as always. I'm always going to be peachy. Peachy king. But nah, I'm not. I don't really have too many worries for this year coming up, just because even with 2020, I didn't have really any worries at that point because it kind of brought my family closer together. My husband finally acted right. So, so I'm happy.
Always good. Which is always good. Oh, we got Lucretia there. Can you see us?
I can't see you.
Uh-oh. She's still having, I think, some lighting issues. I'm sure she'll get that fixed. And hey, Lawrence and Britannica. Hey, guys.
Hi. Oh, she. I forgot that she was at work.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Maybe that's what that is. My new year has also been great, but I'm like you. I'm different. I'm one of those people who my primary goal in life every day is to protect my peace, and I just don't let certain things bother me or get under my skin. So I'm in that same boat. There's our girl.
All right.
Hey.
Okay, there we go. Yay. I was like, oh my God.
I don't know what's going on. It's just not working for me. So I'm going to try to change devices. I'll be right back with y'all.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting on her, hey, Kendrick, while we're waiting on her, we're going to kind of enter into one of the topics. As we know, before Christmas, the Republicans and the Democrats had approved a stimulus check, was a $9 billion package, basically. And this particular package or COVID aid bill allowed Americans to receive a $600 payment in their stimulus package. However, Trump vetoed this bill and actually sided with the Democrats and requested an increase of the up to $2,000. A gentleman, I won't call him a gentleman, a man by the name of Mitch McConnell was very unhappy about this particular increase and actually stated that he's not going to be bullied into rushing into more borrowed money and increasing the package and increasing the payment just to put more money into the hands of Democrats' rich friends who don't need the help. That was McConnell's statement. And after this happened, McConnell's house, as well as Nancy Pelosi's house, ended up being vandalized. And there was fake blood and a pig's head left outside of Nancy Pelosi's home. and Nancy Pelosi, by the way, is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And on McConnell's home, someone actually graffitied his house and wrote the words, "Where's my money?" and "Mitch kills the poor." And this was, we're assuming, as a result of not increasing the stimulus package to the $2,000 payment to Americans, opposed to the $900 package. I've actually heard of a couple people in my life who have received their $600 payment. So I don't know where they are with that now, or if it'll make a difference. But Rue, did you even hear anything about this area, and kind of where are you on that? What do you think about that one?
That's just funny. That fool said, "I'll be damned." And then someone was like, "All right." And actually, dang, man, we still doing that. We still vandalizing houses and shit. Oh.
I don't know how someone as popular as a Mitch McConnell and a Nancy Pelosi's house could be that easily accessed. These
people.
They are just regular people, but I would like to think that they live in like a gated community, you know, where there is security outside the gate, because they're regular people, but they're not regular people. I put them into the same frame of mind as like a celebrity, where you just can't access their home. And so their home may be like what we think of as a regular smuggler home, but I don't see it just sitting on the corner of 15th and 30th where you can just walk up to their door. I would like to think that their home is gated and that you can't just access it. So that was kind of different to me, that someone could put a pig's head and fake blood on their home and no one be arrested for it. And I would also think that the police presence would be upped significantly during these kinds of times with them.
Yeah, but I mean, did they say that the person wasn't caught?
They have not said that.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it like this: even celebrity home getting broke into. I mean, we've heard time and time again about different celebrities. I mean, OJ had to steal his shit back, so I'm sure it's not like unheard of for gated communities to get, broken into. Like, how many times have, gated apartment complexes got broken into and somebody jumped in their pool when they wasn't supposed to be? Like, gates ain't finna keep nobody out. Ask the Mexicans. They know.
But was it warranted over a $600 payment?
Hey, that's money to people. That's money to some people, and I think it's more so
But if you go to jail, your bail is going to be more than even the $2,000.
Who pays bail? Who pay? I mean, look, I sit it out. I'm not breaking no bread. If I get pulled over and I go to jail, you will not see me bail out, because I'm not giving them my money.
But I wouldn't want to go to jail and risk going to jail and sitting there all that time over a $2,000. And this is money that you already didn't have, though. This is money that you didn't have. It's not like someone went into your bank account and took out $2,000 or took out $600. This is money that you never have. That's Lucretia. Hey. I mean, it wasn't like that. It was money that you never had. Can you hear us, Lucretia? You're muted. Your phone. You're muted.
Mute.
There you go.
I can hear you, but it sounds like y'all are underwater, or like that the transformer thing. And I can see Ruth's face. She's frozen. I can't see you at all, Devin.
Oh, snap.
We can see and hear you really, really well, though.
It's probably because I'm by this building. I had 7 staff call in. They all think they have COVID, but we know they all got their stimulus and they just not trying.
Yes. Like,
so, okay. Y'all know I don't sugarcoat nothing. So when the last 2 called me and was like, "Oh, I have a fever,"
I said, oh, what is it, 600? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, 6, 12, or 18. I said, because you got 2 kids, so yours is probably around 1,800 degrees, right? And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, don't spend your money. I'm good. Bye.
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous.
That's
So,
funny.
That's ridiculous. And we're actually talking about those $600 stimulus checks and these folks' houses being vandalized over it not being increased to $2,000.
did you see his door? His door says, send me my money.
But I was telling Rue, I said, this is so weird to me because you would think that these people's houses wouldn't be so easily accessed. You would think that they lived in like gated communities and things like that, where there was security and you couldn't get to them. And I just find that crazy that you can just so easily access these people to be able to vandalize.
I'm sorry, but that mess is so easy for me. Like, I know people that hit licks all the time, so you think no. No difference. Look, I keep a thief close to me. That way I know when my shit get broke into, who it is.
And cameras, even, I am we are regular smuggler people, and even I have cameras at the front and the back to where if you
I don't need to have the crackhead down the street.
Huh?
I got nosy neighbors. Girl, I got nosy neighbors.
So
know who's at my Huh?
I said, so no one's breaking in without at least somebody seeing.
Exactly. I got all folks around here.
My neighbor to the right, trust me, she gonna know the make, the model of the car. She gonna know it all. Don't come to my neighborhood.
Yep. And then PD right up the street. I got the police department right up the street.
I just don't think that charge, and then I believe because of who they are, it's like a federal crime. I just don't know if that was worth the punishment over the 600 and the $2,000 charges. I feel like I'm hoping, and I don't wish it on anyone, but I'm hoping these were really young people who just don't consider consequences of doing something that extensive or that reckless.
I mean, I was like, you at most jobs now you can make about $10 an hour. That's a week's paycheck. Go to work. Don't be vandalizing these people's house. Go to work and make that $600.
That shit was funny.
I'm hiring. Yeah, because it's gonna be a few people who after this, they're gonna need another job.
Okay. They done rubbed you all the way.
I mean, you do HR. That's right, HR, right? What you hiring for?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is my part-time. So
you did what?
This is my part-time. We're hiring for nurses, aides, nurses, and PT.
Oh,
did y'all get y'all $600? I've gotten nothing. Have you gotten your checks as well? No?
No comment.
I know a couple of people who said they gotten their money, but I don't know if $600 was worth calling into work. I mean, that's a car note for a lot of people. That don't.
I'm thinking if it's like this now, wait till income tax. Like next month, I ain't gonna have anybody here.
We got our income tax from last year. Look, I don't file taxes, but the hubby files taxes, and he still ain't get his taxes back. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. We don't rely on the government to pay us because we know we ain't never gonna get paid. Ever. And
that's kind of how those people who vandalized those folks' houses should have thought. Because like I said, it wasn't like they stole $600 or stole $2,000 from them. This was money you didn't have yesterday. So how are you making it and living yesterday?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason why I felt like it was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They went and had to go buy paint.
And that.
Like, you went and spent money to do this shit. Like, if you were mad about not having the money, why you gonna spend money to do some fucked up shit?
And use up your gas to drive over to these people's house.
And I bet you they tore their pants or something like that, because I bet you their gates were high if it was a gated community, and then they had to jump over that bitch or try to get through it. So it's like, You exerted a lot of energy. That's the only reason why I'm saying it's dumb. But I still stand by that shit being funny as hell.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was worth it. I don't think it was worth it. And y'all know that, like, COVID, 2020 is over, and we've kind of moved into 2021. But COVID is still a major factor, especially like related to our children. You know, there was actually a study that was saying that that 3,300 high school students found nearly a third of them reporting they were unhappy or more depressed since COVID. And 51% of them felt a lot of uncertainty as far as their future. And it's just very negatively affecting them. And it's actually, you know, arrived at my doorstep with my own children. And I do think it's a big deal as far as the kids and the COVID and the pandemic and how they're kind of dealing with things. Where are you ladies at as far as your feelings as far as COVID and how it's affecting our children, teenagers especially?
I don't understand why we haven't put more effort into reaching out to these children. If adults are having a hard time dealing with this, how are we expecting our children with it? And he has to have structure. And you would think we've been going through this almost a year that he would have adapted by now. But this is 1 year compared to the 8 he's been in school. And having to do homeschooling and then having to go back to school, but you're only allowed in school 3 days a week. And then you're sitting in these cubicles with this plexiglass around you, and half of your friends are not there. It's really affecting him. He has started to blossom and come out of his shell, but I see him going back in now. And it's affecting him. It's affecting me because I don't know how to keep him from closing that door back, where he was letting people in. I don't see him staying and trying to go out and socialize. He doesn't understand the risk of COVID. He knows he has to keep his mask on. He knows that he'll be sick and that he can be sick for a long time, but he doesn't know some of the ramifications of COVID. He knows that we've had family members die from COVID. He knows the stuff that he sees on the media that he hears us talk about, but no one is addressing what he feels like. So he doesn't know how to come up and say, Mama, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm bored. All those feelings that he's feeling. So they come as anger. And then when he gets to school and he's having to try to these emotions, and no one for him to talk to and say, this is how I'm feeling, because there's no counselors there. He doesn't have an outlet. So he blows up. So then he's trying to hold all these feelings and emotions in. So when he gets home, he's trying to tell me about the day. I'm tired because I've had to deal with COVID international rules, COVID US rules, CDC rules, H stuff, dealing with our staff. Do we take the vaccine? Do we not? So, yes, they're feeling it too. My 21-year-old, she's like her mama. We work 2 or 3 jobs and it's messing with her money. So she's not happy about that. My 14-year-old, she's very social. She plays basketball. They haven't had a basketball game yet this year. 2 volleyball games during volleyball season. Nothing so far for basketball. They have been home every Thursday, and that is driving her up the wall. And this year, that's the good team. She had to get our talents from somebody else because her mama can't play basketball. My height was wasted on me. But because of COVID, my kids who are normally social have been in the house, and I don't want to say turning into introverts, but they are forcing themselves to learn new ways of being happy, if that makes sense.
But what's the solution?
I think, honestly, because I don't think COVID is going anywhere anytime. I think we need more counselors. Move these kids from these little, because these classrooms are small. Move these kids from these little bitty classrooms with these plexiglass things on them and just spread them out. They're already doing 3 days a week or 2 days a week. Open these classes up, put them in the gym. only have half of the classrooms occupied. But we got to be more interactive. When it first started, his teachers are really good with that. They were always on time with the Zooms. They were sending homework home after about March, maybe April. Girl, these teachers weren't coming on Zoom. We were getting emails 2 hours after the class was supposed to start. Oh, such and such had a headache. I know when school started back in August, the first 2 weeks of school, my baby had 0 assignments because none of his teachers logged on.
Wow.
We got to be more accountable. And even as parents, because a lot of us can work from home. I know it's hard and it drags out your day because it drags out my day. But I bring my kids in the room. We all living room. They have their workspace. I have mine, and then we take breaks. We don't just work a full 8 hours. We work 2 hours and we stop. Hey, let's watch TV. Let's make a snack. You got to be creative. But your children are older, aren't they, Devin?
Mine are older, and I think their thing is they don't adapt. These kids don't adapt well to change,
Mm-hmm.
because I know with like they're saying that it's a lot more difficult. They aren't able to concentrate. I know adults who can't concentrate and focus when it comes to like online type school. And then we're still on them as far as getting their grades done and things like that. There's not really a routine. A lot of kids aren't able to socialize without, oh, aren't able like to, oh, what happened?
What happened? I'm
I
still
can't,
here.
oh, okay, I can't see anything. Okay, I'm back. They aren't able to socialize with a lot of their friends unless they're actually in class. And I think for the teenagers, it's almost like a lesson. It's a learning experience because I feel like they get so caught up in in not being able to be by themselves. And I think a lot of their worlds are dictated by like social media and and things like that. And I just, for my particular daughter, I told her I think that's part of her problem. I just don't think the friendships are like the friendships we had in school. I don't think their interaction with people is like the interactions we had in school. And, Rue and I were talking, earlier off camera about how this COVID thing would have been a big deal for us in school, but not really, because we actually went outside and played and
Yeah.
interacted. And when we were home and we didn't see our friends at home when we left school, every day. When we were home in the summer, especially if our parents didn't play, when you have one of those mamas that are like, don't leave my house till I get off work, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can't go anywhere and all that, and don't have anybody in my house while until I get home. We were still able to cope, and I think that it's just different for them as far as their generation. Hey, bro, she's back. I think it's different for these kids in their generation as far as like adapting to this change, and adapting to how things are
I
now.
know it's called social media, but it's taken away, in my opinion, social media has taken away a lot of the social I guess the social aspects. Like, people don't know how to talk face to face. So even though you can get on computers and you can talk to someone, or you have an app and you can speak to someone, my kids, they have 3 or 4 people to talk to. When new people move in the neighborhood, they don't just automatically gravitate toward them. And I can remember when new people moved in our neighborhood, we were nosy. We was over there, do you need help moving this in so we can see stuff? We talk to people. Um, the lady that lived down the street from me when I was younger, she whooped me one day. I mean, like, people knew people. Nobody knows anybody now. So COVID is making us even more isolated. It's not.
And that's
I
the
don't know
thing.
how. I really don't know.
Now they don't have the friends that they talk to at school, and they're not good at making friendships and developing friendships outside of school, outside of social media. Teenagers don't want to be under their parents and loving on their parents, so I think it just makes them feel some kind of way. I know, Rua, we were talking a little bit about this off camera. Kind of, what are your thoughts as far as COVID and how it's affected the mental health of our babies?
Well, I got put in timeout, so I missed what y'all were talking about. So my husband made an observation and said that he realizes that the kids, when they were going to school, they would go to school, socialize, come home, and continue to socialize over their phones and social media outlets and all that. So unlike we had, the opportunity as a kid to miss, the people that we socialize with, they don't have an opportunity to do that. There is no missing anybody. They're constantly going from a social play, a physically social place to a technical social place. So it's like it's nonstop, and it's to where you have these keyboard warriors that can say whatever. Like there's no filter. So whenever they were able to, at least have a barrier going home, they really don't have that now. And I think it makes it a whole lot harder for them to deal with things. Like especially we're on COVID, right? We're on the COVID topic.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know the solution for them. Lucretia had mentioned some pretty good solutions as far as like the younger kids, but as far as the teenagers, that's kind of hard because you can't help them to unlearn behaviors.
But you know what? Some of these teenagers, though, I have two that live in my house. Girl, they wake up grumpy. They wake up mad. They have attitudes and they aggravated. So I'm like, do they even want our help? And like, we have a question. Do I think it exacerbates? Yeah. Because, I mean, if you already had a tendency to be quiet and withdrawn and have more of those depressive mentality tendencies, then yeah, because now you're all by yourself. But okay. I mean, I say yeah, but then also my other daughter, she's a loner. She fine with it. She good with it. So it didn't make her depressed. She's perfectly fine, never having to go back to a classroom.
Okay, so we have to go back to also we're making mental health more noticeable now. Like it's socially acceptable to have mental health problems, and I feel like some of these kids abuse that. They're like, oh, it's okay to have mental health, so I can sit there and say, self-diagnose and say that I'm bipolar or I'm depressed or I have anxiety, and it's like, yeah, okay. How do you know that? I'm not taking you to the therapist for them to tell you that that's what you have. So how can you self-diagnose yourself and tell, like it's kind of like these kids are telling themselves what they have, and then it just fuels them.
Google and Wikipedia are telling kids they're depressed.
Sometimes I wish back, like how it was back in the day, like it was shameful to have some kind of issues, which generationally that messed us up. But now we're teaching our kids that it's okay to be crazy. Like I don't want to fuel that. Like I don't want to.
I'm not gonna say it's okay. I think. Well, I can't speak for everybody else's household. I teach my children that it's okay to have a voice and come express how you're feeling, because a lot of stuff I went through, I wasn't able to go and tell my parents.
Right.
It was because I was a child. In their opinion, I didn't have a care in the world, so I can't be depressed. I can't be upset. Everything should be 100% hunky-dory all the time. I want my children to be able to come in and say, I'm feeling this way. Something feels off, and feel safe to tell me that. I would never at 14, 15, 16 go in and tell my mama, hey, I think I need to see a therapist, because my parents took that as an attack on their parenting. They didn't look at it and say, okay, well, maybe there is something off. Society's playing a role. School is playing a role. Her own personal hormones are playing a role. They took everything I said negatively as an attack.
But the problem also is with my particular children, the problem is with my particular children is I have to decipher whether it's an actual feeling or if it's a manipulative behavior.
Yeah.
And And I noticed that it comes out a lot when they get in trouble or something is addressed or the grades are bad or it's time to take the phone or the cards. Well, I've been feeling depressed and I'm going through stuff and you don't ever listen to me and I need to talk to somebody. Well, why didn't you tell me this 6 months ago? Because as of today, I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have to ask my youngest, what's going on with you? Because she's the one again that I said she's okay being closed off. And with COVID, I've noticed that she gets a lot more closed off. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Come in here and sit in the living room. You can watch TV with us. And then I had to stop and say, that's just her. She prefers to be by herself. Everybody in the house is not an extrovert. She is a true introvert. And I have to let her be that. And again, like in my family, again, growing up, we couldn't do that. If you wanted to be by yourself, they called us weird. You had to sit with the rest of the family.
Well, see, I'm an introvert, and so it makes sense that all of my children are also introverts. So I guess that's something that I'm used to. But now, because of COVID, there's no routine. And that's where my children are messed up. You know, it was Monday through Friday, there was a routine. You get up at a certain time, you go to class, you do your work is done before you get home, and things like that. Now there's no routine. They have the ability to sleep all day. They're teenagers. So I can't see what they're doing all the time. You know, I can just text and say, is your work done, and things like that. So I just think that we need to somehow figure out a way to get these kids back into a routine to make it much easier for them to cope. And as far as friendships and things like that, I'm just sick of social media, and I feel like it's caused a lot of mental health issues with our children as a whole. I think social media has negatively affected kids a lot because kids are just mean. Lamar is so right. When we were young, they would send you to MHMR, and then people would make fun of you and call you crazy and all that other stuff because that was just a bad idea. And we grew up with that mentality of, as a kid, you ought to be seen and not heard. But I think most of us turned out okay.
I started counseling when I was 29, so I'm 40 now.
It's because we had some type of boundary. Like, these kids have no freaking boundaries. That, to me, that they sit there and they can, if you tell them no, don't do that, then they have a rebuttal. Oh, you should listen to me because I'm human. And I'm like, you're a child. But children have opinions and shit. Like, I'm so sick of this crap. It's not even funny.
Yeah, these kids they're definitely a different breed of people, and we treat them a little bit.
My daughter had a nerve to tell me, Mom, I feel like I'm bipolar. And I wanted being funny. I was like, you're right. But I was like, no, you're not bipolar. You're just PMSing. So it's like, even that part of it, they don't even understand that. They don't understand that your hormones changing and it makes you react and differently than you normally would. And they don't even get it. But they don't want to listen to you tell them that they're just being hormonal. Like, there has to be a line. There has to be a boundary of where the kids still can feel like they have a safe space, but know that they don't have to manipulate us with the whole I'm depressed. Like, sometimes you can just be sad. That's it. Sad. Not depressed, just upset. You have a right to be upset, but don't come to me talking about, like, you know, that, oh, the world is ending. It's not. You have to learn.
To my daughter, I said her situation now. I'll even give her situational depression, which you know is just temporary. It's because of a certain thing.
That's the end all. They don't look towards like the future. They're not seeing ahead. They're seeing as in their current situation. So as in their current situation, they're feeling like that's the end of the world. That's it. So we have to make sure we're influence them to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not, you know, there's a difference.
That has to do with, like, one of our other topics, the difference in generations, like how we relate to them. Are we sensitive to what's overly sensitive, or are we just completely dull and numb to it? I don't know. I think my parents, they weren't sensitive to anything at all. I love my mom and my dad, and I feel like they did the best that they could with what tools they had and what they knew. But again, the things that my children are able to come and talk to me and feel safe and know, okay, I'm going to listen. I'm going to be sensitive to what you're saying. I could never express to my parents. Now, I'm not this dummy or this pushover where they can just come in and say, oh, I'm bipolar, I'm X, Y, and Z. No, you're not. But they can come in and say, school made me feel this way. I'm stressed about this. How do you identify when there really is depression?
Take them to a
Being
therapist,
someone,
them
huh?
diagnose. I said, take them to a therapist and let them diagnose it. At some point, they're gonna be like, well, maybe I don't like telling my business to this lady or this man, and he know all my business.
I think it's based on what you know your child's normal to be. If I know that my child's normal is to be this way and she get moody every month at the same time of the month as some of us other women, you know, but after a week she's better. Or if I notice that she's only depressed when she get in trouble and get her phone taken over her grades, you know,
Right.
or things like that. But if it was an ongoing situation and nothing was going on in her life to merit that, then maybe I would take it seriously. But that's when you kind of have to know your children and know what their routine is and know what
Yeah.
their normal is or whatever. But you can't cry depression when you lose your car.
Right. So yeah. So actually, like, I think I'm cold. I think I'm generationally sensitive. I try to be at least. Like, there's some times where I'm just like, there's a hard nose. Like, I I went through this, and y'all are fine. Like, it'll be okay. But what I try to do is I try to have like hold house meetings. And that's gonna be like their safe time to tell me whatever they want. And I even bought a dang it doll. A dang
Mhm.
it with the other word. And that's the only opportunity that they have to like really, while they're holding the doll, they can sit and say anything that they want to say and they won't get in trouble. Like, if that little curse word pops out, then that's the one time you can use that curse word right then and there with that doll in your hand. And it actually has like benefited us a little bit because then you could see if they're gonna take advantage of it, if they're gonna see exactly what they really want to get out, because then it's no filter. There is no filter, there is no censorship. I can see exactly how they feel or what they want to say. So
But
I
if
You're
try
a lot more
we're
sensitive than me.
sensitive, we have to also make sure that we're not being enablers. And we also have to make sure we don't feed into what I believe is the younger generation's entitlement, because that drives me insane. So I do believe I need to work on being more sensitive as far as the younger generations, because I just worry about who's going to be taking care of me when I'm old if I look at them now. I'm
Well, I
just
mean,
saying.
we do the family meetings. We don't have a dang it doll because I don't cuss at them. They can't cuss at me. So
no,
we don't have.
they don't cuss
Oh,
at
just use it as an expression. Okay.
the expression. I want to
Okay.
see I want to see their level, because if I
Yeah.
can see the level, then I can know how to kind of contain it, or
Yeah.
you know see how it fluctuates.
But I do try to be sensitive, and my oldest is the one that really taught me about it because I would say stuff like, "Oh, we went through all of that, and I had a full-time job and still held straight A," all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait, she goes through stuff that I didn't have to go through. Our backgrounds are different, our situations are different. So yeah, stuff could be bothering her a different way than it bothered me. I had to grow up a whole lot faster because of family and situational stuff than she had to. So it taught me, okay, you do need to look at this maybe from an outside point of view. Remove the fact that she's your daughter and you're her mom and just write it down. And so that's what we started doing. We have a notebook. And so situations and events and things would happen. We would write it down without names, and then they would pass it to me and I would read it. So as I was reading it, I was reading it as I was reading a book, and these were characters. And I was having to say, oh, wait a minute. They did that girl wrong. And she was like, well, they in this situation is you, mom. And I was like, oh, I did that to you? She was like, yes, that's how you made me feel. So it was a different way of us looking at stuff. And it opened my eyes to like, oh, okay, you are raising these kids with tools from 1950 and 1970. It's 2010. You can't do that. Um, So I don't know. I mean, Devin, we grew up in the same city. You know my mom. You know how quiet my mom is. So my mom really wasn't the disciplinarian. My dad was the one that was like, the answer to everything was whoop 'em. Well, I
Yeah.
came home with a B instead of an A. She got a whooping. If I stayed out at till 10:02 instead of 10 o'clock, give her a whooping. I mean, there was no conversation. There was nothing was sensitive to me. Nothing.
I definitely think that was all very insightful. It's good ideas. I think all of us need to start kind of working on those things and kind of learning how to be more sensitive to the younger generation with and be patient. That's my main thing. I need to learn to be more patient with them.
Look, I got a lot of patience. I'm gonna need them, like just like
Do
we trying
you?
to look. I got a lot of patience. Look, there's 6 kids. I got a lot of patience. So if I'm exerting that much energy on keeping my little anger in this little tiny little bubble right here, I'm gonna need them to get a backbone, and I'm gonna need them to like suck some stuff up. Like they need to before I that.
I totally agree. Uh, and now that we're talking about being a little tough, y'all mind if we step on the toes real quick and offend a couple people? Can we talk about holding these pastors accountable for
I'm putting
bad
up the
behavior?
church finger. I'm leaving. I'm putting up the church finger.
And so, and one of the pastors that I think of when I think of this is like Jamal Bryant, for instance, who
I'm out. I'm out.
people like follow him like sheep. You know what I'm saying? And I come from a small town where the church was a big deal, and you didn't hear a lot about stuff like this, you know. But with social media, a lot of different things come out. I believe that pastors. She was so serious. I believe that it is unacceptable for a pastor of a church to have side chicks. I believe it's unacceptable for pastors of a church to be sleeping with the congregation. I believe it's unacceptable for you to not basically practice what you preach. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if a pastor is engaged in like this irreparable behavior, when do we say you should not be our pastor? When do we say you are not appropriate to lead me because everything about you is wrong? Why do I have to keep giving you a tenth of my earnings? Why do I have to keep showing up and putting money down on on the payment for your Rolls Royce? Why am I still funding your why am I doing all this? When are we going to hold these pastors accountable? Jamal, I just found out, has like a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, some child that he just had like out of wedlock and with some random chick, and she just was told not to, I guess, say anything. But yeah, I'm almost afraid to ask you, where are you on this?
I'm mad she left again.
Oh, she'll be back. Come on back, Lucretia.
What she said, I saw that little comment down there talking about Rue, I don't know you, but your patience may be short. Nah, you should have seen me back in my former life. This is real easy right here. Anyways, but yeah, no, holding pastors accountable. I don't know what it is in the Black community. We will support our people to the end, even though we know they doing wrong. I'm gonna tell you what. So I was raised Southern Baptist. When I came to Dallas, no, with my grandma, I was raised Southern Baptist because my mom was Jehovah's Witness. So either way, those two disciplines are very strict. They are, this is the book, this is what you follow, you don't stray away from this. And if you are with sin, like you need to be baptized or you going to hell. Can I say it? Oh man.
That's okay.
Okay. So I had to make look, I'm trying to censor myself. It's really, really hard. Um, so I remember going to this church with some family friends, and it turned out that the church in Dallas pastor he actually ended up passing away, and I think he was caught in a hotel with a prostitute at a hotel casino or something like that. And it turned out he was also embezzling the church's money to support his gambling addiction. This was in Dallas.
Wow.
Yes, and it was funny because originally the church they ended up splitting off like years prior, like before that. It ended up becoming two churches, and one it kept the name, and the other one I think turned into Fellowship. I don't know if you know Fellowship Church. Okay, those two churches are very popular. So then, years later, happened, the Fellowship Church, the members over there was like, we told y'all, we knew this was happening. We knew he had that's the reason why the congregation split. That's the reason why the church had split up and went two different ways. Well, after he passed away, everybody was like, ooh, karma. You know, his son took over. His son took over the church, and apparently that made everything like so much better. But it was like it would have still kept going if divine intervention hadn't have taken place. Like that is wild to me.
The first thing everybody likes to say when pastors or bishops or whatever you want to call them today behave like this, the first thing they like to say is, well, he's just a human.
He's just a human. But I mean, if you're a corporation, and just like Lifetime, they had the whole social injustice. A CEO said something, made a racist comment. That CEO was fired, gone. So why in corporate America do they understand that, but in our black churches we don't understand? We don't get that.
And some pastors, if you think about it, some pastors make more money, earn more money than like a lot of your teachers, your doctors, even your lawyers and things like that. And if we knew our lawyer or our doctor wasn't versed in medicine, you know what I'm saying? Right. This man is performing surgery on you, but you know he failed the last 3 finals. He wouldn't be allowed by law to perform these surgeries on you because that's not a reputable person. You know what I'm saying? You need to be basically practicing what you preach. You know what I'm saying? Multiple people have to check you off to say that you are good enough, that you are this individual. We trust you to be able to do this. We follow you. You know what I'm saying? We believe that you're going to do this correct. I'm going to let you cut me open and take out my spleen. But if we know that you failed and last week you didn't know the difference between a liver and a pancreas, you wouldn't be allowed to perform these type of acts. So if you're a pastor and you're preaching not to have sex out of wedlock, and you're preaching to do right by other people like that, but you got 2-3 side chicks, you got a wife, you got a baby mama, you taking the church money and you buying Louis Vuitton and Fendi and stuff like that. Yes, he is a human, and yes, he's going to make mistakes, and yes, they still may be someone who believes in God. But I think that's when we should say, okay, well then maybe you just shouldn't be pastor. Maybe you should step down and let someone step up who is more qualified for this and who's ready to take on this sort of role. And I'm not comparing anyone to Jesus Christ, who they say is the only perfect person, but all of these people wouldn't have followed Jesus Christ if he was not practicing what he preached. You know, we don't expect any pastor to be that perfect, but come on now. Shantae's saying as a PK, which is preacher's kid, I'm going to say there's bad folks in every profession, and the bad ones should be held accountable. And I like hearing that from a PK. Especially, I don't know where you're from, Shantae, I'm sorry, but if you're like from a small town, that's just something that's, unheard of. Like I remember in the town where I grew up and having like pastors like hit on me, like flirt with me, and then try to say that that's normal. And everybody kind of looks away. One pastor, I hope I talk about anybody's relative, I remember had his wife and kids, and then had uh, the mistress, in the church as well. And everybody just looked past it. It was almost like it was acceptable for a man. But if you had a woman who was in what we'll say a high standing in the church, who performed or who acted out in this way or had these bad behaviors, she would be told to step down.
Right.
And I don't understand why this is okay. I don't know where Jamal Bryant is. There's rumors that he's been asked to step down. I don't know if that's true, but I keep hearing all these people defending him, like especially women. And that is just crazy to me, that even women are defending his behaviors by saying things like he's just a human and people make mistakes, people aren't perfect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't understand this, and I've backed off from the church, and I was just having a conversation with somebody recently that I do believe in God, and I believe that I have a really good relationship with God. I haven't been in the church as much, and I shouldn't have allowed anyone to do this to me. But one of the reasons why I backed out is because I didn't go for a couple of Sundays or a few Sundays or something like that, right? And someone basically told me that I won't get to heaven because if you don't give God your time, he's not going to be there for you when you need him. And basically, this person chastised me and told me that I can't make it to heaven if I don't do it this way or I don't do it that way, et cetera, et cetera. And I started thinking about like dirty people that I know of personally, I won't name, who do wrong. And they're at the church when the church doors are open. And so what I told this individual, I said, so you're telling me that God would accept that person into heaven because they show up every Sunday, but would deny me because I missed a few Sundays and didn't pay my tithes? Is that what you're trying to believe? Is that what you're trying to make me believe, that God will judge me by what I don't do in the actual organized religion church, opposed to who I am as a person and as a human being?
I don't understand why we're putting that much like authority into the pastor. Like to me, I don't know. Celebrities, pastors, politicians, they all the same. They human beings to me. And when they mess up, I'm not gonna be like, you need to, I would deal with it in a professional way. Like, you need to go ahead, take a step back, try to figure out what you gonna do with your life. And then when you're ready, you can come back and be like, okay, I've been saved and let's try this again. But to hold them with so much power, like, I don't get it. I don't get that. Like, oh, they shouldn't be doing. Yeah, I don't hold it past no man. No man. I don't like that comment Lamar just said, talking about, oh, women love their pastor. Men love their pastor too. All the Christians love their pastor. They act like they prophets, and they're not. They're people. People. They didn't get that through their head.
Now, I do believe that a pastor is sort of like a teacher, meaning you pay them for a service.
We ain't acting that way with our teachers that are teaching our infants, our elementary kids.
I do agree. What I'm saying is, if I'm paying you for a service, you know what I'm saying, and you're not performing the service well, then you shouldn't be performing that service. You know what I'm saying? A teacher can't be a crackhead and show up every day and everybody knows she's a crackhead and we still pay her. She would be held accountable. If she decided she didn't want to grade papers tomorrow and all the kids are failing because you're not grading the assigned paper, you would have to go. I just think I won't even talk about organized religion. Maybe that's something we could talk about at a later date, because I have a whole totally different opinion as far as that. But I just think that there should come a time where we hold those people accountable for where they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the people at his particular church, just to hear how they defend him and other pastors who are obviously doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? And looking at these pastors that like I'm gonna say Joel Osteen, who has like a private plane and a mansion and things like that, but he has people in the congregation who have difficulty paying like their bills, and they're faithfully giving a tenth of their earnings to these pastors and relying on these pastors to help them get into heaven. Let's just be honest. That's what they're doing. They're helping kind of lead the path and teach you how to get to heaven and how to be a right, good person and righteous person and all of those things. I want someone to say, hey, Pastor, I like your $3 million house, but did you know that a quarter of your congregation are struggling financially? Did you know that several of the members of your congregation have been laid off or lost their jobs due to COVID? Did you know? So
are these churches giving back to their people?
They are, but it's not out of their pockets per se. It's from people like you and I who show up and we donate and we go and we cook and we go out and we gather foods for them. We collect. You know what I'm saying?
Fine. That's what that's paying for. I remember back in the day when I did go to my grandma's church, they'd be like, "This is for sister so and so or brother so and so. He going through hard times," and they would fill the jar up in front of you, and they would go and hand it to them right in church, so you knew that money was going to them. Like, they don't do that no more. They collect everybody's money, and then it goes in the back, and then they count it. Pastors are the richest people. Like,
and I don't understand that. And Shantae, you said some people are worshiping the pastor as God instead of worshiping God, and I so believe that. And people feel like if they speak against their pastor or say anything negative against their pastor, that somehow they be hell, and that's just not accurate. None of that is accurate, and I just think we have to get out of that mindset. And yeah, and Joel Osteen was in the news for not helping during I believe it was during a hurricane and for COVID relief and things like that, but he still went back to his $1 million home wearing his $10,000 suits, getting in his $100,000 car. And I don't know why the pastor can't just have a little house on the corner. You know what I'm saying? And a regular smegular Honda like everybody else in the congregation, and use all those earnings from these people giving this to the church to make sure that your community is well. Somehow, and I think these millennials and this generation X and Z, I think these are going to be some of the people who sort of change that narrative because they think more for themselves. You see what I'm saying? You can't just tell them, you can't pee on their leg and tell them it's raining, because they're going to ask a whole lot of questions.
They're naturally rebellious.
They are. So somehow we have to, as a people, we have to change that mindset. And maybe it should start at home in some of our little mom and pop churches. You know what I mean? Because most small churches didn't have a lot of scandal. It would be rumors. People would whisper and say, I heard Pastor such and such and Sister such and such did this and that, but it wasn't like a big scandal, and sometimes you knew it was true because then they started having babies by these women, and things like that. But a lot of times it was just rumors. Now you have your Jamal Bryant, who has like Instagram, and he's talking trash to people on Instagram and kind of letting it be known that he's trash. And the fact that he's still the pastor of that church, I don't understand it. And I know, Rue, you're kind of in my boat where you're no longer big on going to church and things like that. Is that some of your basis why? Because you just lost faith in the church, or you just feel like it's not necessary?
I think I stopped believing in congregational worship. I feel like I can worship at home, and it doesn't necessarily, like, my congregation is my family. So as long as I'm worshiping within a congregation, if I want to be technical about what the Bible say, then I am worshiping correctly or appropriately. So, I mean, I don't like to be among hypocrites. I don't like I don't like the showiness of it. That's why I don't go to the Potter's house. I'm like, that's too dang much. Like, why you need to do all that? Why? I understand like where it originally started, like where they wanted to put worship on camera, so that the people from their home that couldn't get out could watch it, because it was on regular cable at one point. And, the old ladies, they couldn't leave their house. They sit in their chair in the front room and just watch, Pastor so and so on TV. I get it. I get why they started making CDs so that they can enjoy the service from the comforts of their home. I get it, but that's not. They turn it into something so blasphemous to me, and I can't be a part of it. Anybody in their right mind should not. How can you not see I don't see how you can't see it. I don't see how anybody can contribute to that. Like all this, have a whole Star Search presence on the big stage, and that's for show. That's definitely for show. I'm not with that.
I do think we've gotten away from the foundation of church and what it's for. You know what I'm saying? And not that it wasn't a little crooked back in the day, but I just really think that now it's just turned into something insane. And these big name pastors and all of that, they've got to be held accountable. I need for people to start having their own mind. I don't know how they get controlled like that and manipulated like that to where they would just buy into anything, because pastors shouldn't be teaching women that it's acceptable to have multiple women and mistresses and side chicks and all that. They should be teaching women to value themselves and have self-respect and to not tolerate the foolishness from a man. And I think that by accepting those pastors who do this and not holding them accountable, we are telling women that this is okay. And I just don't believe that behavior is acceptable. And it's got to change. And we have to start holding these people accountable for their actions. And he should be sitting in the congregation with everybody else, trying to better himself and allowing someone else to step up, even if it's a woman, to hold it down, that's living in their truth and not full of it and selling us BS.
Then they want to sit there and say, well, God ain't through with me yet.
Yeah, God ain't through with me yet. So come sit over here beside me until he's done with you.
That's what they can do.
Come sit down. Well, I guess we made it through this hour. It's been tough. We've had a lot of technical issues and
I gotta make a public apology for my F-bomb at the beginning of the show and my foul language, because look, I got a potty mouth. I'm military, I'm raised by strong Black women that got no filter. When we tell you this, when we tell you something, that's what it is.
You don't sound like my man that's in the Navy. We working on his potty mouth too, and that's all he ever says. I was in the military.
Yes, I'm sorry. Like, I did not mean to cause all kind of havoc. Like, I had to get put in timeout. I was like, dang, I didn't even know I did anything. That was quick.
Well, we love you, and we accept that apology, and we'll know next time. I'm gonna ask all of you guys that are watching and that have taken the time to listen to us. We really appreciate you, and we just want you to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, be blessed. We'll see you. Bye.